Unmanned drones are lethal and seemingly indiscriminate, increasingly used by the US in Pakistan as part of the so-called war on terror. The Pakistani authorities released statistics that in 2009 alone, drones killed 700 innocent civilians. Today I'm talking to Carol Grayson, who's a human rights activist and campaigner who's about to go to Waziristan, northwestern Pakistan, which is one of the most volatile and dangerous places on earth, to continue her battle against drones. Carol, thank you for coming to talk to us before you go. Tell me, are you afraid?
I'm not afraid because I feel we'll be very well supported. I mean, I've been overwhelmed by the messages of support. So I'm really looking forward to going there, and I'm not afraid at all.
What effect does the use of drones have on the morale of people who are living in these zones?
Well, they've got absolutely no security. Every day is an uncertainty. Their child may go to school and not come home. I mean, for example, I've had a video sent to me from a little girl called Shakira, who is now in the US undergoing a whole series of operations because she was burnt in a drone strike. She was actually left for dead and found by an NGO. And she's lost her whole family, couldn't even trace her family. I was talking to a man who was telling me about his young brother who was 9 years old, he'd been harmed in a drone strike, and he said that his brother was seriously disturbed, after this incident, and part of the debris from the drone had actually hit their family home, and now the little boy won't even go out and play. He's afraid to go outside his own home.
And of course, the effect on children could have repercussions through the generations. I mean, do you think that that drones actually destroy or create more terrorists?
Oh, I think without doubt they radicalise people. I mean, when I've spoken to victims, they want justice, but because they can't get justice, because their voices aren't heard, they become very angry. They don't even understand why they're being targeted. I mean, most of these people don't know very much about America. They're just getting on with their day-to-day lives, and they have no idea why they're being targeted a lot of the time.
The Obama administration defends the use of drones in part because they reduce the risk to US soldiers. Of course, people don't have to go in on the ground. They make it easier to engage in this sporadic warfare over long distances. Is that a good defence in your opinion?
No, because the people they're targeting are alleged insurgents, and I clarify that, alleged. Now, I was brought up to believe, that somebody was innocent until proven guilty. These are people that have not gone through any judicial system. And afterwards, the Americans themselves often don't know who they've hit. And there's huge discrepancy over the figures. That we're finding out that a lot more civilians are being killed, but these are the people that the Americans don't tell you about. And they actually class these people as other. So they're completely distanced from the damage that they do.
They also say, the Americans, that they're holding themselves to rigorous standards and a process of review. Have you seen evidence of that?
No, and they're so secretive that when we ask them questions about the process, we get very little from them, and they're not accountable. Who are they accountable to? And no state should be above the law. No state should be able to just go in and take out someone. I mean, they're breaching sovereignty. They're going into another state, and they're killing innocent people, and they must be held to account for that.
Do you think that on the part of the US, the use of drones is a sign of strength or a sign of weakness? I mean, what does it tell us about this war on terror?
Well, I believe it's a sign of weakness. I think they don't understand the culture, they don't understand the people. They say they're looking for peaceful solutions. I've not seen one person from the American administration ask us anything about the peace march or even champion a peace march. I mean, I really feel at the moment that America is actually agitating to create a full-scale civil war in Pakistan.
Is this being done, though, with the agreement of the Pakistani government?
I think it's a very difficult situation because basically the Pakistani government is tied into receiving aid from the US, and it seems that although publicly it's saying it condemns drone strikes, at the same time, it's in a sense it's bribery from the US because as soon as there's stronger talk about taking action against US drones, then immediately America's threatening sanctions. So it's a very difficult situation.
And when you talk about a peace march, tell us what you mean.
Well, this will be the first time, this will be historic, because basically human rights activists, journalists, lawyers are coming from all over the world, and they're going into Waziristan, and people haven't been into that region for many, many years. So there's estimated, we're hoping to get about 100,000 people. And we'll be following Imran Khan, and we'll be going to interview drone victims, because people don't see the impact of drones on the lives of people in the tribal areas. Children suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, homes destroyed, businesses destroyed.
What do you hope that this march will achieve?
I hope it will educate people, and also with regard to our country, because we now have a drone program here and we're investing billions. So we want to know where our drones are going. We know that they strike in Afghanistan. We don't know much about Pakistan. We want the victims to be heard. You know, we want to find out the impact on their lives. I mean, Imran Khan is the only politician so far that has really highlighted this. And you know, it's his initiative, this peace march. So bringing people from other countries, showing the press another side of Waziristan, because there's also a very positive side. The people are very warm, very welcoming. They are sharing information with us as far as they can. They're trying to give us a picture of what the situation is there.
We talk a lot about drone strikes by the US, but not really at all by the UK. Why is that?
Initially, drone operators from Britain were going over and operating out of the US. Recently, they were relocated to a Lincolnshire airbase. The programme, again, is secretive. There's questions being asked of our government at the moment, but we don't know where the drone strikes are going. We don't know necessarily who's being killed. And it's also, some people think it's a positive to have the drone industry here in terms of it'll create jobs. But creating jobs for some and destroying the lives of others.
You've also made a film about so-called collateral damage in Iraq, which you acknowledge was made possible by WikiLeaks and its release of footage of an Apache helicopter killing and wounding civilians in 2007. It was Bradley Manning who's the soldier accused of releasing that footage. You said that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. How do you feel about what's happening to Julian Assange at the moment?
I'm quite disgusted at the way Julian's been treated, and I'm sure a lot of that is because of what he's released. I've had close contact with WikiLeaks and I fully support the organisation. I think that any campaigner that speaks out on controversial issues is a high target. A high target for discrediting that person. I mean, I understand that the Swedish government were given other options of how to deal with the situation, but I think there's a big effort to basically get Julian extradited to America, and I believe this is very strongly related to what he's been doing in terms of releasing the cables.
You've had a vigorous and successful history of campaigning. Tell us a bit about that and how you came to take on drones as your latest cause.
Basically, my husband was born with a condition called haemophilia, where his blood doesn't clot. And as part of his so-called treatment, he was given blood from American prisons. And I researched this area, and what I found out was that prisoners were actually being injected with deadly viruses for a reduction of their prison sentences, because they were seen as the lowest of the low. Then key American pharmaceutical companies actually bought that blood and exported it around the world. And it was used in NHS hospitals as treatment. So my husband was infected with HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and later exposed to variant CJD. So my brother-in-law died when he was 20, died a horrific death. And I had this very long fight against the state. And basically, what I've come up with over these years is government trashing documents, withholding information. So you've discovered cover-ups all through the system, basically. And then what brought you onto drones? Well, basically, I came into contact with an investigative journalist in Pakistan called Salim Shahzad. And we were writing on socio-political issues, and one of the issues we were writing on was drones. And I realised very quickly that these people were also collateral damage, and I felt an empathy because I knew what it was like to try and take on a state, and you know how difficult it is to be heard. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of the press, well, you very rarely see an interview with a drone victim, so there's nowhere for people to have their voice heard. So I felt it was really important to stand in solidarity and go out there and just you know, so we could both share experiences and learn from each other.
Carol Grayson, good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.